I'm 78 years old, and most of the people I loved are no longer close enough for me to tell this to. Some of them are gone. Some of them are still alive, but too far away now, in ways that distance can't explain. I'm telling this because there isn't much time left to pretend I don't know what happened. These days are quieter than I ever imagined they'd be. Not peaceful, just quiet. The kind of quiet where you can hear your own breathing and wonder how many more times you'll notice it. I sit in the same chair every morning, near the window, watching the light change across the wall. It's a habit now. I don't rush anymore. There's nowhere to rush to. When you get this old, people think you're full of wisdom. They expect you to have answers. What you mostly have is memory. And memory isn't neat. It comes back in pieces, sometimes when you don't ask for it. What keeps coming back to me is how proud I was of being strong. I don't mean strong like lifting heavy things. I mean strong like not complaining. Strong like handling things alone. Strong like being the person everyone could rely on. Because I never needed anyone back. At least, that's what I told myself. In my 20s, strength felt like survival. I grew up in a house where showing emotion wasn't encouraged. My father worked long hours and didn't talk much. My mother held everything together without asking for help. That was the model. You did what needed to be done. You didn't make things harder by talking about how you felt. So when I left home, I carried that with me. I worked. I showed up. I paid bills. I didn't ask questions I didn't want answers to. I thought that was maturity. I married young. She was warm in ways I wasn't. She noticed things. She wanted to talk about the day, about feelings, about worries that hadn't happened yet. I loved her, but I didn't know how to sit in those conversations. They made me uncomfortable. I thought problems were solved by action, not words. When she asked how I was feeling, I'd say I was fine. I really believed it. I thought feelings were something you dealt with privately, or ignored until they went away. Work came easily to me. I was dependable. I stayed late. I took on extra responsibility without complaint. People noticed that. Promotions followed. I wore my exhaustion like proof that I was doing something right. At home, I was there, but not fully. I fixed things. I handled practical matters. I thought that was love. When arguments came up, I'd go quiet. I thought staying calm was strength. I didn't see that silence can feel like absence to the person sitting across from you. Children came. I loved them deeply. But again, I loved them through provision, through stability, through being the one who never fell apart. I thought if I stayed solid, they'd feel safe. I missed things without realizing I was missing them. School events I said I couldn't get away from work for. Conversations I postponed because I was tired. Moments when someone wanted reassurance, and I gave solutions instead. Nothing dramatic happened. That's the dangerous part. There was no explosion, no single decision that ruined everything, just a slow narrowing. My wife stopped asking me certain questions. I noticed it, but I didn't ask why. The kids grew older and shared less. I assumed that was normal. Teenagers pull away. Adults get busy. That's life, I told myself. I was always tired, but I was proud of that too. Tired meant useful. Tired meant needed. Years passed like that. Decades, really. I measured time by projects completed, by responsibilities handled. I told myself there would be time later. Later, when work slowed down. Later, when things were more stable. Later, when I could finally rest. Later was always just ahead. The first real crack came when my wife got sick. Not suddenly. Slowly. Doctor visits. New medications. Adjustments. I handled it like everything else. I organized. I researched. I stayed composed. One night, she said she was scared. Just that. She didn't say it loudly. She wasn't dramatic. She was sitting on the edge of the bed, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. I told her we'd manage, that the doctors were good, that worrying wouldn't help. She nodded, but she didn't look relieved. I didn't know how to sit with fear, mine or hers. I thought if I stayed steady, it would protect us both. She passed away 2 years later. At the funeral, people told me how strong I was, how composed, how admirable it was that I held it together. I nodded and thanked them. That's what I knew how to do. Inside, something shifted. Not loudly, just enough that the quiet afterward felt different. The house was too still. The silence wasn't restful. It was hollow. I realized then how much of our connection had lived in the small conversations I'd avoided. The ones about worry, about doubt, about things that didn't have solutions. Those moments were gone now. There was no way to go back and sit in them. After she died, I expected my children to fill some of that emptiness. They came around at first. We talked about practical things, about how I was managing, about what needed to be done. But they had their own lives, their own families, their own rhythms, and I didn't know how to step into those spaces without feeling like an outsider. I waited for invitations instead of asking. I didn't want to be a burden. I told myself they were busy, that they knew I loved them. Months went by, then years. Phone calls became shorter, visits less frequent. Not because of conflict, but because of distance that had been growing quietly for a long time. I saw photos online of moments I wasn't part of. Birthdays, trips, ordinary days that no one thought to call me about. I told myself it was fine, that this was how life went. But at night, I replayed things I should have said. Times I could have listened instead of fixing. Times I could have stayed present instead of strong. The turning point wasn't dramatic. It was a health scare of my own. A night in the hospital, bright lights, machines humming, a nurse asking if there was someone to call. I named my oldest child, then hesitated. I didn't want to worry them. I didn't want to intrude. That hesitation told me more than the diagnosis did. Lying there, I understood something I'd missed my entire life. Strength, as I practiced it, created distance. It told people I didn't need them. Over time, they believed me. I wasn't abandoned. I had trained the people I loved to step back. When I was discharged, I went home alone. The house felt larger than it ever had. Every room carried the echo of choices I couldn't undo. I started noticing how rarely my name came up in conversations, how my absence didn't disrupt routines, how life moved on smoothly, without me in the center of it. That's when the regret became clear. Not sharp, but heavy. Like something you carry everywhere without being able to put it down. There are things I can't fix now. Conversations that can't happen because the person is gone. Habits so ingrained that even when I try to change, it feels awkward, forced, late. I can't go back and show my wife the kind of presents she asked for. I can't give my children the version of me who sat on the floor and listened without checking the clock. Time doesn't negotiate. It doesn't care how sincere your regret is. If you're listening to this, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I don't have that right. I can only tell you what I learned by living it. Being strong is useful. It gets things done. It keeps the lights on. But it's not what makes people stay close to you. People stay close when they feel needed, when they feel seen, when they know you'll sit with them in the messy parts, not just handle the logistics. I thought love was proven through sacrifice and responsibility. I didn't realize how much it's also proven through attention. There were moments I could have paused, just a few minutes longer. Moments I could have asked one more question and listened to the answer instead of moving on. Those moments add up or they disappear. Now, at 78, I don't have the energy I once did, but I have awareness. I wish I'd had it sooner. I spend my days slower now. Sometimes, I call just to hear a voice, even if the conversation is brief. Sometimes, I sit with the discomfort of saying I miss someone even when it feels awkward. It doesn't fix the past, but it softens the present. If this meant something to you, maybe it's because part of it feels familiar. If so, you don't need to become someone else. You don't need to stop being capable or dependable. Just don't confuse being strong with being distant. I don't have many years left. I know that now I'm not afraid of dying as much as I'm aware of what I won't get to redo. This is the truth I carried too long. I hope you don't have to carry it as far as I did.